my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I traveled across the U.S. Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram, lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight where you need it most.
Hi, this is Brett Gordon of Businesses Are People Too.
And my name is Brandon Croucher of Delight Cafe.
And this is One Square at a Time, where we take kind of a king's approach on a chessboard of being able to move in life and leadership one square at a time, sometimes forward, sometimes back, sometimes to the side.
Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button, guys, and ring that bell. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about Brett every day. And now we're here one square away. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to One Square at a Time, a leadership perspective of Brett teaching me what I'm doing wrong in my life. How you doing, Brett?
I am doing really well. I am actually at a deployed location here in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Really? You are at a what convention?
I am at Freedom Fest, the largest gathering of libertarians in the world.
I have to be honest, I'm not used to you having a hat behind you or a background like that. I'm used to your background being something a little bit more with like Tony Robbins.
Yeah, well, you know, when I'm sitting in my hotel room, this is all I got to work with. So you're getting it live and raw right here from, like I said, South Dakota. We just had the first day of the convention yesterday. And the governor of South Dakota came on stage, and she is pretty fucking awesome. I just used my F word for the first time. I'll use it probably more than that today. But
what's so special about today?
Hey, being here out of the house, surrounded by somewhere around 2,500 attendees. And I love it. Taz is one of my favorite characters of Warner Brothers, because he just like creates challenges. And I always say, if it ain't broke, break it. And Taz tends to be really good at that.
I actually agree. So tonight's episode, we are going into Space Jam. What's that? Space Jam. What? We're gonna jam. We're to the jam. So, growing up, this is one of my favorite movies. Like, I grew up enjoying this in such... When I knew that the second one was coming out and LeBron was going to be the main guy, I not only got excited, I was excited. It's a freedom convention, freedom of expression. I love it. He's right. Stuart, you're right. Taz and Marvin the Martian were my brother's favorites. I have to be honest. Taz was my favorite, and then it was Lola Bunny. That's just because her and Jessica Rabbit are the hottest two cartoons out there. And I don't think there's many guys who would disagree with me, at least in my age graphic. But Space Jam is an interesting movie. Brett and I were talking a little bit about like what we're going to talk about and planning the show. And it was interesting how we were talking about the dynamics of not the movie, but the players, how LeBron and Jordan are so polar and so different, and people love to compare them. And now you have this movie that we all know, Space Jam. Everybody's grown up with somebody that was obsessed with it. So, and I'm known for being obsessive. So for that, it's one of these things where Brett, if I was to pick, I have not seen all of the second one. Have you?
I have not. I had it on, but I fell asleep during part of it, so I only saw like the first part. Maybe the first 45 minutes.
That is awesome. They just watched Jessica on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I watched that movie 2 weeks ago. I love it. I couldn't stay awake through it. And I know you said you fell asleep through in the movie too. And my thing is, I fell asleep because LeBron's not an actor, but Jordan's not an actor. But Jordan didn't play a role. Jordan played himself. And I felt LeBron was trying to do too much to not sound like Jordan, to not be put in the same category because it's the same movie. I felt they tried to have LeBron be an actor, and that's not who he is.
Yeah, I think that Jordan, when he did it, was really, on the forefront of kind of doing this kind of thing. I mean, he's the first one that I can recall really kind of being a part of a cartoon movie, and the technology back then wouldn't have really enabled Jordan to become a Looney Tune character and be a part of it with Bugs and Porky and everybody else, where the new technology 25 years later enabled LeBron to be a part of it in that way. And I thought that was really kind of cool. But, what it really did kind of, in my mind, and I think in you're watching these critics and what they're saying, and it gets back into this whole Jordan, LeBron, who's the GOAT, which is, one's a GOAT on the court, the other's a GOAT when it comes to philanthropy. And I think that those kind of comparisons are in people's minds, and they're in different generations. So, Michael's my age, basically, I think a year younger, maybe.
And LeBron is a year younger than me.
Yeah. So when we're looking at these two guys, we're looking at it through different eyes, different perspective, through a time when, I don't really know that much about basketball today, to be honest. I don't follow it that much. But back in the day, it was Magic and Bird and Iverson and Jordan and Pippen. And when that's what I see everything through. Yeah. As far as LeBron, I just know the Cavs. Then he went down to, what's the team? The Heat, and then over to the Cavs again, and then out to LA. Right. So he's been around looking for that opportunity to get the ring. And Jordan just came up from college and went into the Bulls and stayed there. And until he had the traumatic event with his father being killed.
Do you think that played a part in the movies too, on why one people gravitate towards more than another? LeBron has been in the spotlight. He has the era of, he doesn't have the fame that Jordan had. He's been in the league longer than Jordan did. And without comparing basketball numbers and saying 6 rings and stuff like that, they both are extreme talents. And I think that the thing is, like, for this movie, LeBron is trying to connect with that next generation just like Jordan did, because Jordan was in the media being Michael Jordan as he was. He just won his 6th championship in a row, and he was pulling away. Was it the 3rd?
Yeah.
And then
that was when he transitioned to baseball, remember?
And that's part of the movie, and that's why people connected to it. And honestly, Stuart, we're not going to talk much about basketball. We're not going to do basketball stats or anything like that.
No.
We're actually comparing the movies and how they are and the leadership styles in them. And these are the two actors. I mean, I personally would focus on Tasmanian Devil and Bugs, but these guys apparently have more fame and all that. They have other things. I look at this movie and I think of the fact that Michael Jordan was so huge. Basketball was just starting to become a lot bigger in the U.S. He was the face of it. It's always been the third-rate sport. You have football, baseball, basketball. And basketball's trying to catch up, and then hockey's just like the redheaded stepchild of sports world. And that's just here in America. But like LeBron is in an era where everybody's more judged. It's more like they're looked at in a different way. Where Jordan,
and there's social media now, where there really wasn't back in Jordan's day.
I bet Bugs and Taz are more famous worldwide. Yes,
I agree.
100% agree. 100% agree, Stuart. But Brett, with that being said, I think that if Jordan would have been around during social media, I don't think Jordan would have done social media. He was about being alone, and LeBron learned that's where the depictions and things need to be separated from later, because LeBron came around and when he started winning championships, it was when he stopped tweeting and stopped getting on social media, and he saw that was a distraction. So with basketball being the focus of how these two players became one, and I'm a huge basketball nut, I just always have been, my thing would be this, is how does this movie connect with this generation compared to Jordan's? And I don't think we're going to know that for a little bit. But I do have some interesting statistics for you.
All right, shoot.
You ready? All right. So, Space Jam, was it the #1 movie of the weekend in ticket sales?
This one?
Yeah.
I would say no. Was Black Widow still?
Black Widow is still in theaters, and guess what? Space Jam beat it by just a nose, like just barely, like very little. But the thing that's different about this is Black Widow is on Disney, okay? And Space Jam is on Hulu. So if you have a membership to Disney, they still want $30 for you to watch that movie. Where on Disney Plus, where HBO said, hey, we're going to give this for free for anybody that has an HBO Plus account. So now you're saving money by not going to the theater, and you're not having to pay for a Disney Plus or account. And then you turn around, and if your kids liked it, you go to the theaters and you're paying for this. And that is where they've noticed the biggest thing is parents were turning it on. Their kids were getting into it, and they noticed parents. That's what this movie was doing that's different than others, is being able to stream it at home and then see it on this huge screen. That's what they're saying the next generation's getting caught up into, and how you're going to be able to judge movies is, does it stream and then do well in theaters? Because the streaming services aren't going to let go now. They've been pulling these movies and putting new stuff out. Disney charging $30 is ridiculous no matter how you put it. At the end of the day, I think HBO putting it out there for free was essential for this movie to create a connection with the audience. And that was where LeBron was separated from Jordan in this movie for me.
I think, in terms of the way that the movies are being deployed now and how they're going to be able to have multiple streams of income and things like that from these different media presentations, that definitely plays a role in it. I mean, when I went to go see Black Widow, I wanted to see Black Widow on the big screen and went to the movie theater and so forth. And now I'm just debating whether or not I'm actually going to pay the $30 so that I can see it multiple times before it actually becomes free on Disney, where I wouldn't have gone to pay the money to see Space Jam in the theater.
So you're saying you would pay for Black Widow?
I did pay for Black Widow.
At
the theater.
Got it. So at the theater, how much were your tickets? Because I don't know. Cleaner bathrooms.
They were like $18 to watch it on
Cleaner bathrooms too. That's a good one. I'll tell you. Go ahead.
So it was like $18 to see it on the IMAX. And that was fine with me. But I wouldn't have paid $18 to watch Space Jam at the theater. I didn't either one of them.
$18 to go to the movies?
Yeah.
I would not pay that. I can't imagine that for like the Dugas family. Could you imagine them going to a movie? They have 800 kids.
They got to win the lottery.
And that's just to go watch a movie in theaters. When they go
that's not with the popcorn. That would have cost them. They had to win 2 lotteries.
Like, for real, they would have had to give away one of the kids. Like, you know how they say, oh, you can have my firstborn. Jessica's like, please take my firstborn just so we can see a movie. Like, good Lord. Sorry, Jess. I'm just having fun with you. But, so, Brett.
You might have given away Brandon, but I'm not sure about the kids.
Jessica's tried giving me away. I'm sure. We always went on $5 Tuesdays. And honestly, that's when I'd go. I did that, or there were like a lot of people don't remember these. The dollar theaters.
Tweaker Tuesday?
Huh?
Tweaker Tuesday?
No. Like, my thing is, when you go to the theater, it's meant to be an experience. And for $18, I'm going to want more than to just sit in a chair that I can now get at home and my pop next to me. I can pause this HBO Plus and go to the bathroom without missing a thing. AMC doesn't offer that for me. It depends on where I'm at, but if you're watching it with a friend, you might be able to not ever leave that couch because they want to be like treating you like a king and queen. So I'm just like, hey, I am out of water. And they bring it over. I mean, I love being at guest places. With that being said, Space Jam is a movie that I believe connects with audiences of different generations in different ways. I believe that Jordan's era has it with his dad passing away and Jordan already being in the news so much and then switching to a different professional sport. It creates a storyline, it creates a conversation, and then you have this movie that comes out that excites people that's basically the story of Michael Jordan, and it made it with a creative twist with Warner Brothers because of his dad and baseball and blah blah blah. Where LeBron's is not that far off. His version is just connecting in a different way with a different generation that probably wouldn't have connected back in the day when. Sorry, Jessica's comment. Let's go to the movies. Let's go see the stars. Sorry, it's just that's how I read that. I've talked a lot, Brett. I'm sorry.
So you know, I think kind of going back to who's behind, you know, the actual players themselves, and taking a look at their leadership styles, their way of leading life, the way that they came up. You know, I think that there's some really good comparisons or contrasts to Michael and LeBron. So my immediate, you know, gut feeling of the two of them was Michael had a very tight relationship with his father, and he was such an influential part of Michael. And then when his father was shot and killed, you know, that really diverted Michael's attention, understandably, and really kind of moved him into, I think, playing baseball more than he might have had that not happened. You know, Michael always came up as a baseball player as well as a basketball player, and he had this desire to be a baseball player. And I think his dad had kind of a bit of a vision of him being a baseball player as well. At least that's kind of how it was also portrayed in the movie. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Michael took this opportunity, I think, to pay somewhat homage to his father and see what he could do. And he took him out of, basketball after the first 3 rings when the Bulls were just dominant,
Mm-hmm.
and basically told the Bulls, sorry, I'm gonna go try baseball, even though we are right now geared up for the 4th ring, and maybe they might have had 7 rings in a row.
Right. If the butts were candy and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day, and that's why, like knowing what LeBron could have done if he stayed in Miami and all that, we could do that with both of them. It's the fact that Jordan's dad.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that Michael was mourning and paying homage and doing something that he had in the back of his mind for a long time. Where you take a look at LeBron, and the thing that when LeBron came into the league, he came right out of high school.
Okay.
And he was one of the, if not the only person who's come out of high school in a real man's body. Oftentimes coming out of high school, they're skinnier, they're not as well developed. LeBron was a big boy. I mean, he did not look like a high school bodied kid.
No.
He came out big. Yep. And he had a very tight relationship with his mother. And I think his mother did a phenomenal job of raising him. He did not come up as some of the other younger people that came out of high school into the league and had a mouth or an immaturity or something. I think his mother still had a significant influence over him as he was developing into an adult, mm-hmm. while being in the league and getting paid a shitload of money, where oftentimes that would take some of these other personalities, down a path of checking out anything that they could afford to buy, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the first things that LeBron did is he really set his mom up, with a house and taking care of her and things along those lines. And I think that showed a lot of character in terms of LeBron as a son, as an appreciative child that didn't forget how he got to where he got to.
I could agree with that. He still takes care of his mom today. He pays the city of Akron ridiculous money because his mom wants to stay in Akron, Ohio, and he pays the police department to have his own private security for his mom in his house because people just don't leave him alone. They go to his house all the time trying to take pictures and stuff. Now, I say that, and I also say LeBron's also been an amazing role model for a lot of people because he's had one girl his entire career. You've not heard about him being around with other people. He's been a role model to kids by putting so many through college. But I can also go back and find where Jordan did good things too.
Yeah.
So we're not comparing apples to apples here. We're able to compare apples to oranges, but both of them are providing a nutritious fruit, and I think our nutrition to the body. And I think that's what we need to be seeing through all of this.
Yeah, I think they showed 2 different types of leadership style. I think Jordan was, if you go back and you really take a look at the way Jordan trained himself, I go with George Jetson and his boy Elroy and Jane, his wife, and Judy, his daughter, right?
What's the dog's name? You got all of them but the dog. Their dog?
No.
If anybody gets this, I'll mail you a box of CBD, but you have to get it in the next 30 seconds.
Ruh-roh.
Their dog?
Astro.
Bingo! Good job!
Stuart got it as well. Awesome. Yep.
There we go. There we go. Good
There
job,
it is.
guys. There we go. I like the comment. Did you see the comment here? Isn't Space Jam like a traffic jam only with meteors? Jessica Dugas comes behind this with Space Jam is when Space Jam is when the Jetsons are in traffic. Like, that's hilarious. Like, totally caught me off guard.
Well, I think Space Jam right now is between Bezos and Branson and Musk all trying to get into space at the same time.
I'm sorry, I'm going to distract everybody with the squirrel here for a second, but did you hear about the lady that Jeff Bezos took up with him that was supposed to be one of the first women in space years ago? Yeah. He took her up. They interviewed her this week and asked her, how was it? She did not give him a good review, I'll tell you that.
Oh, really?
She just said it was really cramped. It seemed like it wasn't the best of impressions.
Well, I looked at that, and when they were, there's 6 of them up there, and they release in the cabin, and there's not any space to really move around and do anything without kicking somebody else in the head. I'm like, why is this enjoyable? Why would I pay $250,000 or whatever to be able to go up there and be cramped when trying to move around? To me, it didn't look exciting, so I can see where she was coming from.
And at the same point, why would I pay $18 to go to a theater to see a movie when I could pay $20 and I have a monthly membership and can watch all different movies?
Because if I get a chance to go to the theater, I can pay $10 for popcorn and another $8 for a Coke and walk out of there $50 lighter just because I went to the theater. That's the exciting part.
That's the exciting part. Wow. So LeBron and Jordan Space Jam, because you and I'll just keep distracting us. I'm sorry.
So okay, let's take a look at a few things that really I think people need to look at from a leadership perspective, and also the type of work you need to do in order to become a leader, especially in a professional sport. Michael Jordan spent, and this is documented, and I'm sure LeBron did something similar, but Jordan would spend hours and hours going into practice before practice and shoot and shoot and shoot until it was all muscle memory. And you could tell that's why Jordan could hit those last minute shots and things like that. It wasn't so much any kind of nerves. It was all about just his muscles responding to the training that he put himself through and that he would put his team through. His team used to get pissed off at him because he was so competitive in practice, and he would get down on these guys if they were not putting out 110% in practice. And they're like,
it's not practice with Jordan. You're playing. You better come to bring your A game. You don't play. He was known for his competitiveness. Even on the plane, he would talk crap to his teammates. The U.S. Olympic Games, his mindset was what Kobe Bryant took and was like, I need to know how to be this. And Kobe was a very, very educated man. I wish Space Jam had a Kobe one, just because it would make this conversation even more intriguing. But that Jordan had that competitive nature that you could be in the back of the plane with him and he's going to challenge you to a game of poker or something, and he's going to put money on it to play you. He loved the thrill of competition, and it didn't matter. There was no practice for him. There was no ifs. There was no others. It was win or lose, whether it was practice or the game. And I don't think LeBron had that mentality. And there's a different mentality there that just has to break through for a winner like LeBron.
I think so. I was looking at some statistics, and they talked about how many players Michael went head-to-head against in basketball, and there was only one player that actually outscored Michael, and that was Allen Iverson.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Otherwise, Jordan, because of that competitiveness, because Jordan would talk shit, because when Jordan talked shit, he also brought his shit. And if you talk shit to him, you were in deep trouble because he was going to make you pay.
I agree.
But Iverson is the only one that actually outscored Jordan in the average points that they had when they played against each other were actually, one-on-one type on each other. So I think that's the kind of person and intensity that Jordan brings. That's the kind of intensity that Jordan brought to his golf game when he was golfing against, with friends out on the golf course. That's the kind of intensity that he brought to baseball, and then realized that his body was not trained with the muscle memory that you needed for baseball. His body was trained for the muscle memory you need for basketball. And basketball, and this is something that we need to recognize in life.
Yeah.
Basketball, the basket is stationary. You can move around it, but the basket is always in the same place all the time. And you can develop muscle memory by continuing to work around the basket and shoot and get that feel for what it takes. In baseball, when somebody's pitching the ball at you, that ball is coming in different angles, different spins, you're trying to connect a moving bat with a moving ball, as opposed to a basketball in your hand and a stationary basket. So when we're thinking about life and we're thinking about leadership, our leadership styles are different based on the situations that we are in. I say my leadership style is situational. It all depends on what the scenario is, the people, the intensity of the situation, those types of things. But other people look at leadership in a different way, and they're good in certain scenarios, and you don't want them around in other scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
You take a look at the Jeff Bezos or the Stephen Jobs and so forth, and they were very, very good in creating a vision in their mind, but very difficult for people to follow that vision. And you did not want them to be in charge of the details, because they were not detail oriented, and they were not real friendly when it came to getting the answers that they wanted to have. So leadership styles and kind of the way that you have to train for any sport can have some real correlations there. If everything's moving, then you have to develop your leadership style in a different way than if something is stationary and you're bringing it forward.
Stuart Lone Wolf says, none of this is giving me insight into either movie. Honestly, Stuart, here's how the best way I could describe this. You have two basketball superstars making a basketball movie that connects with aliens and cartoons like Bugs Bunny, and the aliens are taking over the cartoon world and need to stop it, and LeBron or Jordan are the ones that are saving it. He was not the quarterback for the Detroit Lions, even if that means nothing to you still. Honestly, it's one of these things. LeBron is. This movie was meant to be a great sequel to get the next generation excited. And I think they connected in certain ways with the at-home download and all that. But even the director ripped this movie apart from the original Space Jam. He goes on to say how they didn't have the right soundtracks. They had less supporting cast of superior acting, to even the basketball players that LeBron gets to come with him aren't as talented as the ones Jordan has. And then he even goes on to make fun of the cartoon versions, saying how Bugs Bunny looks like a stuffed animal. And if the old director is saying that, it creates a negative stereotype in people's mind of exactly what what the movie is going to be like. And that's why this is getting such polar different reviews. You'll see like 1 minute have what your face says something nasty.
Oh, me? No.
It looked like you were like,
read. I don't have my glasses on. I got a smaller screen here. I'm like, at a disadvantage now.
I'm literally looking at you going, what is wrong with him? Is he like about to pass out on the screen? So like, I'd have been like, I don't know what hotel he's at. So somebody trace his phone. But when the director of the original movie does not give anything nice, does not say anything supportive, does not really give it a blessing, it makes it hard. But when you look into it, LeBron didn't even accept the role until later in his career because he didn't want it to affect the role of the first movie and how much he actually enjoyed it and what the impact was. And LeBron admits that first one's story had a lot more of Jordan's life intertwined in it than this one will. And that's something that they were trying to make sure people understood, but people leaned on the negative side a lot more. And I think that's what people do with athletes. It's, you could have an athlete that's out there that's literally changing the world for the better. Like we all think Peyton Manning does. Just using him as an example because he's always somewhere. But like, it doesn't matter if you're LeBron or Michael Jordan. It doesn't matter who's the best for these movies. It's all about being able to find what the thing is that lifted them up to that next level. And I truly believe neither of them are good actors. Neither of these movies are worth $18 to go see in theaters, in my opinion. And I love the original Space Jam. And I would recommend it to people. But I also know that it's one of those movies where it's entertainment. This is not something that's going to be change my life. And it just connected with a genre of people that were young, and it made them want to get into basketball. Is LeBron's going to have that same effort? I don't think it will, but I also don't think this generation is looking for that. I think they're looking for entertainment.
The P name? What's Brian talking about? You didn't drop the P name.
I don't know. Pepe Le Pew? Oh, maybe it is because they removed him from the second one. They removed Pepe Le Pew and the mouse. Speedy Gonzalez.
Okay. But they added, what's that monster? The big hairy monster and I think a couple others. So it's different. It's different. And I think that, you know, they were intentional. I honestly don't think they should have called it Space Jam. I think if they were going to do something, they should have just made this a different title, a different kind of a movie. Don't call it Space Jam. And there wouldn't have been the same level of comparisons. It would have been something that would have maybe just been something that critics would talk about and see how it resonated with the audiences without trying to do these big comparisons.
I agree.
To me, that was just not the way to go about doing this. I think that both, if you really want to excite people, and I think that this is going to those generational things, LeBron resonates with younger kids today because they've seen LeBron play basketball. Jordan, a lot of people know who Jordan is. Even the young kids know who Jordan is. They're still wearing Jordan basketball gear. They're wearing Jordan Air Jordan shoes, but they actually didn't watch Jordan live playing basketball. They didn't get a chance to really see the way that Jordan played on the court and so forth. But back in the day when the original Space Jam came out, not only did everybody and the kids understand how Jordan played, they also knew that he had left basketball and was playing baseball and then was going back into basketball. So the way that the movies resonate with the younger generation, I think, is similar but different.
Yeah, and that's what we're both agreeing on. So what would be a tool? I think that this one's going to be a little different. We're both going to have our own opinion on this one. What would be a tool you would associate to I'm reading their comments about Mr. Manning. That's all I could say. Eli's better. But what would be a tool that people could use so when they go watch this movie, or either of them, you would see it as a tool for leadership? This is a tough one.
Yeah, and gosh, for fear of bringing this up and having it spun in a different direction, at least in my head, my initial thought was a jackhammer. And the reason I say that is because of what I was saying about Jordan and the repetitiveness of how he would just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot until he broke through, or until it became second nature. Just like with a jackhammer, you it's repetitive motion that eventually breaks through. And I think that in any professional sport, whether it be Wayne Gretzky or it be Pele in soccer, I'm dating myself because that's who I remember, or going into I was going to try to say something from an English sport. I played rugby, but it's about being repetitive to the point that it is muscle memory. And muscle memory, so that you're not having to think about what you need to do, you're thinking about what is in front of me, and I'm responding to it as opposed to reacting to it, because my muscle memory is already there for the physical action. It's really my mind that is responding to the situation of what's going on around me. So that's where, I think the repetitive motion of a jackhammer is what I was kind of getting at.
All right, sorry. Stuart's comment is it just distracted my ADD squirrel. It's an entire beach international volleyball team got fined $150 per player for wearing shorts instead of the usual skimpy swimwear.
Yeah, that's what's happening in the Olympics right now. There's been some weird things about, beach volleyball is known, and the women wear the skimpy bathing suits, but they're tremendous athletes. I got a chance to watch them a few times in person when I was living in Long Beach. It was right across the street from me where they would play. And man, I'll tell you what, yes, they're gorgeous, but they are athletes like unbelievable.
Beach volleyball is a totally, that's a hard sport. It really is not as easy as people would think. It takes a beating on your body. My knees hate beach volleyball.
I love it. And I need to get out there and actually do it. Maybe I wouldn't be so fat as I am right now. But
all right, we all heard that. Brett's going to get his jacked body together to play on the Olympics 2024.
And I'm going to wear the bikini.
And now we're all giving up on the Olympics.
Yes. But yeah, that's what's going on right now over in Japan, because there was one of the beach volleyball teams was wearing shorts over the bikini bottoms, and they were saying that wasn't what the uniform is, so they're fining them, which I think is I think is very petty and bullshit.
This whole Olympics has had petty and bullshit. Did you hear about their cardboard beds to prevent them from having sex? You don't know what I'm talking about. Oh! So, the Olympic Committee in Japan did put these beds out there because the dorms or rooms that all the athletes are in are known for becoming hot spots for a lot of sex. And they put these beds in that are recyclable beds so they can get rid of them and donate them or just afterwards. And they're made of this harder cardboard. Okay? So a bunch of people started putting pictures on their Twitters, their social media, and all that, and it blew up. And then a German gymnast goes, I'm tired of this. And he goes in and videos himself jumping as hard as he can on the bed. And I'm like, that's really interesting because that's one. You have the lady that I look, there's rules that are in place that are in place. Having people wear shorts instead of a thong or a short bikini, that's not a rule to penalize people for. Having people that her mom just died and she found out through the media in an interview and she smoked a little bit to calm herself down. She knew what she's doing was wrong. She understood that and she asked for forgiveness, but she had nothing else and she was going to be competing for a gold medal. In my eyes, it's because I'm a pothead myself. I don't think she did anything wrong, and I think that our Olympic Committee is getting a little too stringent. But there's rules in place, and I think that because she broke it, you have to stick with it. Like she knows that, and she's not complaining. Now, other than you being a jackhammer at a volleyball beach match, I think that your tool is exactly correct because it's something that's repetitive. It's over and over. It's muscle memory. The machine of that is just focused on making sure it gets to the breaking down whatever it needs to. So is that for both of them, or is that just Jordan? Are you giving them both?
Well, I think that, in order for LeBron to be any top athlete to be at the top of their game, they have to have this repetitive training. They have to constantly go out there and just do it and do it and do it. And I know that could be tied into your cardboard bed thing, and I'm not trying to get to that.
You're the one that said your nickname's the Jackhammer.
I only wish my nickname was the Jackhammer. It's a jackass, not Jackhammer.
Right? Good luck getting the gold with a crink in your neck. Oh my God, that is a great statement. So true.
But, I think that any athlete, in fact, not only just any athlete, but even when I was in the military and at an officer training school, a lot of our training is repetitiveness. It's repetitiveness under heavy stress environments so that you learn how to deal with the stress of the situation and are still able to make decisive, intelligent decisions for the most part, and try to keep your emotions out of it. Those are, that's just how training is. You talk about how the SEALs train, the SEAL in Navy SEALs. It's all about repetitiveness. So when they go out and they're shooting 500 rounds a day in order to get their shooting precision down and become muscle memory. So when they're out there and they actually get in a combat situation, it is not something they have to think about. It is already muscle memory on how to pick the gun out, point, double tap, and move. It is not something they have to think about in terms of aiming. That's part of it. They are instead focused on situational awareness. What's going on around you? It's the same thing in sports. It's the same thing in leadership. If you're going to get good at something, you've basically got to have muscle memory, that repetitive training, in order to take care of those things that you actually have control over, so that you can then focus on those things that you don't have control over. And it eliminates a part of your decision making. It eliminates a part of where your mind has to go, because your body is already trained in certain aspects that are consistent. So I think that it works for LeBron just the same. He had a different game, a different style, but he still had to practice and practice and practice and practice. And without that, LeBron wouldn't be the great player that LeBron is, regardless of what you think of their personalities and stuff.
Or who they are, their political affiliation. We take that out of this. Now, I'm going to switch it. I have a totally different tool. Okay?
Yep.
So, yours was the jackhammer, just like your nickname in college. And I think of the speech. Now, you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert. there's a part of the movie where the Monstars are taking over the game. And Bugs Bunny goes, "Hey, Mike, you forgot to get us more of your special water."
Yeah.
And he convinces all of them that Bugs just writes it, Michael's special water. And it's just basic water. And everybody starts, ah! And they go nuts for it. And Michael is there, and Bugs is telling him, and he gives this inspirational speech. "No, you can do it. We got this. Da 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 da." The thing is, I think that happens in life. We need sometimes to be told or shown that we're going in the right direction. And Bugs saw that the team was headed in the right direction, and Michael was like, "Hey," and his mentality, his mindset is that winner's mindset. Yes, he's got it. I'm going with the placebo. My tool was going to be hydration and water, because of the fact if we all carry around a water bottle with us, think of the time when you want to actually get we're not going down Harry Potter path right now, but water is an essential part, and Bugs use water to convince them all to change their mindset because it's Michael's special water. And the truth is, Michael went with it at first. And then Michael, near the end of the game, goes, "It was in you all along." And that's why that movie bonded with so many people, I think, connected, is you have a different mindset. You can break through different barriers. So for me, carrying your water, having your hydrational water bottle with you at all times is your way of giving yourself that moment to take a sip, balance yourself out, and not overstep on anything, to keep you your best you. So for me, Bugs handed Jordan and the team the hydration part to give them the mindset that they can do this. And then when they realized they needed more of it, they didn't. Jordan was like, "That was in you." And that's where that leader comes out. It breaks inside all of us. So for me, the tool, a water bottle.
Well, I go along with it. I actually resonate with what Jess is saying, in that it was the same kind of thing that when Ron was playing Quidditch, and he was trying to be a goalie, but Ron was pretty uncoordinated. And then Hermione gave him some stuff and said, "This is, a magic potion to make you better." And when Ron took it, all of a sudden he became this great goalie. And it was all the placebo effect again, where sometimes in order to realize that all you need is within you now is to have a placebo or somebody tell you that this is going to make you better. This is going to give you the skills or the intensity or the hyper awareness in order to be great at what you're doing when you think right now, "I'm not so good at it." And, the same thing goes for, in my opinion, getting sprinkled with the holy water from the church.
We're not going to go down that one, but I'm going to let you get a minute. If I have to mute you, it's because we're not going to go down a religious path. I don't let anybody.
I'm just saying there's a placebo effect.
I'm not going down.
And this is where oftentimes, in order to bring out what is in us, requires something that makes our mind or us think that it's actually something from outside of us that is giving us this strength, this capability, and then once you've been able to demonstrate it enough, and people say, "Oh, that was just regular water." But now I've got, some people are going to say, "Oh shit, now I can't do anything again." But a lot of people will say, "Well, wait a second. If it was water, but I still did it, can I still continue to do it without that special water?" And oftentimes they realize the answer is yes. even if you're going through the 12-step process to break away from being an alcoholic, oftentimes it is the placebo effect of the group around you, that support of the group around you, that brings out that inner strength that ultimately is the reason that you're able to break away.
True. And now, how many times do we become codependent of people, though? And all of a sudden, it's that that's the same thing as that holy water or the Bugs Bunny water.
We spend a massive amount of our time tying our ability to do something to somebody or something else.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like others for things that we do, when in fact it is our choice in that we did it. We tend to blame people for things that are bad that happen to us, and we tend to look outside of ourselves for ways to make us happy or to make us feel like we can do something, to appreciate what we've done, as opposed to self-appreciation and recognition for those achievements that we actually make. And when we can turn that inwardly and recognize that if I can recognize and acknowledge myself for the efforts that I made to achieve what I achieved, it brings a strength about you that when you go into the next unknown thing, the next challenge in life, you are more inwardly strong to be able to overcome that next challenge in a way that you don't have to necessarily look outside anymore, because I did this before. I did something like this before. I can do this and overcome this challenge in front of me. And that's what really makes a leader. A leader is somebody that builds upon successes that they've had. And it's also recognizing a good leader comes from within. If they've got to have recognition from outside of them to become the best leader, oftentimes they are not the best leader. Doesn't mean they're not successful, but they may not be the best leader of people. They may not be the best leader of themselves. Even when you're taking a look at some of these people like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they oftentimes are looking for acknowledgement from outside in order to give them the next boost to the next level. And sometimes that can be looked at very narcissistically, in that they really need to have this recognition by everybody around them in order to feel great about themselves.
That's like the holy water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We agree. You just said it in a different way. I think Stuart says it in a great way too. I was reading his comment here, and it was phenomenal. Belief in yourself is the greatest tool. Sometimes the belief of others in you is needed to reinforce you, but nothing is impossible. It may be highly improbable, but everything is possible. 100%, Stuart. 100%. And I think that's a great way of saying this. Brett, what's the name of our show? Of your show?
This is One Square at a Time, where we take kind of the king's approach to moving on a chessboard, where you can move one square at a time. And we're bringing you tools that you can add to your life and leadership to help deal with any obstacles and opportunities and challenges that come your way.
Absolutely. Guys, this is a great episode. We got into Space Jam. Next week, do you have any idea what we're doing yet, Brett, or are you going to debate that in your head for the next few days?
I'm going to leave it in my head for the next few days. I'm actually supposed to be connecting up with Bob out here.
Maybe you get Bob to pick a movie, and you guys, are you going to do with Bob tomorrow? Are you going to be at Bob when Bob's on air at Java?
No, well, I'm going to try to tune into the show when Bob's on air, and then hopefully Bob and I will be connecting up on Sunday and get an opportunity to really get a chance to know each other and see what comes out of it. Maybe there'll be some amazing things that we come up with, and will drive the selection of what we do for next week. And next week I'm going to be on the road again, and possibly the following week as well.
Where you going, buddy?
Going to be heading over toward Yellowstone, and then down to Carson City, Nevada. But there's quite a bit of a road trip in between here and there, so it's going to be very interesting for the next few days, next few couple weeks.
I love it. And this is all for spreading your businesses or people too, and the Delight Network. So we're grateful you're out there spreading joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually here at the conference, I'm handing out cards that have a barcode that takes them right to the One Square at a Time playlist, and say, here's what we're doing, and see what kind of following or traction we can get on it.
The playlist, so you're giving them the YouTube link?
Yes.
Ah, good. We had a bunch of subscribers today, like 2. Honestly, we had more than that, but it just cracked me up because I did notice when 2 went in today. I was like, ooh. So, guys, this is One Square at a Time. I'm Brandon Croucher. This is Brett Gordon. We are truly grateful you stopped by the Delight Cafe with us today. Don't forget to check out delightcafe.com. Hi, Mom. She's standing outside my window. Everybody have a great night. Tune in tomorrow morning. Java Delight. Thank you, guys, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.